Yeah, this is honestly good enough to be a standalone Sergei Pavlovich versus Alexander Volkov. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It would be a great headliner by itself, but it's nice to be thrown onto a card that kind of needs a little bit of a boost. Pavlovich minus 205, Volkov plus 170. Pavlovich is going to be the guy I go with on this. I'm going to try to keep this one short. I don't feel like there's much to kind of dissect with this one. Pavlovich has the momentum. He's the younger guy up until Tom Aspinall KO TKO'd him. He was the guy KO. Excuse me, KO TKO T motherfucker KO TKO and everybody. Did it to Curtis Blades. Did it to Tai Tuivasa. Did it to Derek Lewis. Did it to Shamil. Who else did he do it to? Maurice Green, Marcelo Gom. Like since he came in the UFC, dude was just like not even fucking coming out of round one. Oh, excuse me. He lost his debut to Alistair Overeem. That was his only blemish up until Tom Aspinall. And he was just murking motherfuckers. And he's just kind of like that prototypical Dolph Lundgren fucking Russian boxing guy that you just kind of envision when you think of a Russian boxer, well, primary boxer. 32, not very old. Even though Aspinall just KO TKO'd him, no shame in that. It's not really something that I feel like is going to set back or ruin his career. I think he will easily be able to bounce back from that because Tom does that to 99% of the division right now. Not as big of an age gap as I thought. Figured Volkov would be approaching 40 at this time. He's only 35. Very shocked because Volkov does have a lot of miles. 37 wins, 10 losses. Been in the UFC for a very long time now. Been in the UFC since 2016. So, yeah, he's actually on a 3-fight win streak right now. Submitted Tai Tuivasa, TKO'd Romanov. That was very impressive. TKO'd Rosenstrike, lost to Aspinall. Once again, no shame there. Beat Tybura, lost to Cyril Gahn. Those are kind of like some big names. Beat Greg Hardy. Always nice to see Greg Hardy get his ass kicked. Obviously, he was the meme knockout that Derek Lewis scored against him. Unfortunately, that was the Balls was hot episode. That was Volkov who was the victim of that. All that to say, kind of my biggest X factor with this. Odds are good, minus 205 for Pavlovich. I feel like, if anything, it should be one of the heaviest betting favorites on the card. Volkov's at plus 170. Can't disagree with that, other than should maybe be a little heavier for Pav. My biggest thing is I saw this on social media. These guys are both Russian, not to have stereotypes out there, but apparently it is verified that they are pretty friendly with each other and possibly even trained together before extensively, that type of shit. So somebody brought up an interesting question. When you have two guys who are pretty friendly with each other and they don't have any bad blood, are they going to be more apt to make it go the distance? Or are they just going to, put all that to the side, just accept that it's a friendly, fair fight, go in there, do what they have to do, whatever happens, happens. The only immediate example I can think of in my head that stands out to me of two friends or two people on cordial terms fighting each other in recent memory for me would be Justin Gaethje versus Donald Cerrone. And Justin Gaethje had a little bit of a problem knocking out Donald Cerrone because the first time he put him on his ass and Donald Cerrone went to his knee and tried to get back up and Justin followed up with shots, he was actually getting a little pissed off. The ref wasn't calling it earlier because he was a little upset. He was having to beat the shit out of his friend when he felt like the fight was already over. But I don't really know where that's going to translate into this fight. I don't know if they're going to be able to put it to the side or if Pavlovich is just going to come out there with the same round one, I want to KO TKO this guy mentality. I'm going to say he probably does, though. Hopefully that takes the edge off him being at the minus line right now. So I'll just go Pavlovich KO TKO. This is a good test for him. Volkov's no pushover, especially being on a 3-fight streak right now with the guys he's been on a 3-fight streak against. But just like he's been there before with these streaks, he can also be the guy who's going to be on the losing streak here soon. And with all the miles that he has, I feel like Sergei's the fresher guy. Even though it's only by 3 years, it's a lot less miles he has, better reflexes, better fast twitch explosive attributes and shit that just isn't really in Volkov's repertoire. Like Volkov either gets wrestle fucked, brutally knocked out, or if he can't be knocked out or wrestle fucked, he just kind of point fights. And I don't think Pavlovich is going to want a point fight. I think he's going to come back in there. He's going to hopefully be hungry like he was after his defeat to Alistair Overeem in his debut. He's going to have something to prove, and he's going to want to re-cement himself as a top guy in the division by, unfortunately for Volkov, finishing his best friend, no homo.
No diddy.
Yeah, no diddy.
If you go back to that video, I was pretty high on Pavlovich beating Tom Aspinall. Didn't happen, but I'm going to stay on the Pavlovich train here with you. The dude, I know their sizes aren't this vastly different. I looked it up. I think 266 is the limit for heavyweight. It said Volkov is 263. The dude just, he doesn't look it. His walking around weight is probably 263. He doesn't have to cut. Whereas Pavlovich, he just looks huge to me. He looks like one of those guys that probably does have to cut to make the 266 weight. They're both in very, very good shape for the division. I'll give them that. Pavlovich, I think he's got some really fast hands and better KO power than Volkov. Good movement for Sergei. Looking at Volkov, he's a lot slower and methodical. That's his fight style. He wants to find his openings and get you here and there. I just think Sergei is just going to overwhelm him. I'm going to stick with the money line at minus 205. But also looking at it, 90% of bets are on Sergei and 92% of money. So everybody else is on Sergei too. But, I think Volkov has a chance to win. I think he is a live dog, but I'm pretty high on Pavlovich in that division. I think he could be champ one day. So I'm going to continue riding him here.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listen in and cash out. That's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spot from the bottom to the top. Hey, shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast. Better in Green.